Huh, this will be interesting.
Well, it's certainly shiny, and I like the colors.
I like how the end of the past two finales have practically left the fandom with the feeling of, well, what now? Of course, it's all part of Megan's master plan to have us wildly speculate over every single episode idea until we realize again that this is a kids show and that we need to lower our standards out of the stratosphere. Anyway, season 4 finale. Okay, Alex, let's go.
So here we are. Last episode of season 4 and the beginning of a long hiatus. We've got a lot to cover this time around, considering this was a two-parter, so let's hit it.
First things first, I thought that this episode was excellent. I believe I've said before that Megan McCarthy has had trouble with two-parter episodes. Chrysalis' plan was stupid and reliant on her poor deception, the staircase scene in the Crystal Empire wasted everyone's time, and while I'm at it, maybe I should stop beating this dead horse.
The finale finally ended the pretty much correct speculation over the Rainbow Power Box, and at the same time, provided us with a jumping point towards Season 5 that could theoretically see us looking at Twilight's role as a princess from here on out. We say theoretically because even though Season 3's finale threw wings on Twilight and a select number of the fandom exploded over how much the show was going to change, we had, 5 episodes where other characters more or less acknowledged Twilight's wings and said, oh yeah, she has those now.
But nevertheless, let's get into the meat of the episode, and where I find the most to talk about, at least positively, would be how Tyrek was translated from Generation 1 of MLP to 4. Since we now know that all ponies have magic within them, Tyrek is genuinely a threat to Equestria. And just to nip this in the bud, no, I'm not going to watch whatever G1 episode that Tyrek was in. It would maybe be a nice comparison, but we're like 2 months late with this episode, and I'm sure someone did it already.
We've seen a little criticism towards Celestia's plan to bring down Tyrek, insofar as trusting Discord to stay on her side. In hindsight, it was probably not the best idea to allow 2 alive villains to converse with one another alone. I mean, come on, that's probably a huge TV trope example.
But Tyrek and Discord's chat is excellently done, even with the simple fact that 2 villains in MLP are talking about the ponies as if they could split between power and slavery, somber style. We get to see Discord behind the scenes when he isn't around Fluttershy and bound by his friendship. Along with that, we finally see where Discord's loyalty lies. Even after his controversial reformation, I was always wanting an episode that would put to bed this idea that Discord was merely waiting until he could betray the ponies again. And he did, sort of. So there's that. Discord's loyalty arc is pretty much finished.
Back to Tyrek. Another problem with this episode is that it really isn't explained if Tyrek could sap Alucard magic during his first scene with the Orange Farmer. We have scenes where Tyrek is powerful enough to take Earth Pony and Pegasi magic, but it did take him some time before he could do so. If he was capable of stealing Alucard magic from the start, then it was a good idea for Celestia to send Discord first. Not only that, but the princesses don't really know how powerful Tyrek is, since we can assume that he was broken out for around 6 to 8 months due to Cerberus' escape at the 46th episode, and the beginning of seasons 1 to 4 spanned a year.
With that logic, depending on how badly Tartarus leaves you weak and helpless, Tyrek could have been at any point in his power forms that we've seen in the 2 episodes. So if the princess decided to intervene and Tyrek was too powerful, then he could have sapped their power and he would have gone on the fast track to God mode. It's kind of like the Time Turner problem from Harry Potter. As shown in this comic, Harry and Hermione couldn't use the Time Turner to stop Voldemort because it's obviously not a good idea to try and blindly go head-to-head against the big bad boss when your death is the only thing stopping the big bad boss from just taking over the world or winning. See Kill la Kill, Detective Conan, or practically every action anime with a main character ever.
Another inherent problem with Tyrek is the same problem with every villain that gets thrown into the MLP franchise. They always lose. This kind of ties into the other criticism we heard about Tyrek's lack of destruction once he acquired the Alucard magic. How he only destroyed like 4 trees and the camera panned back to the main 6 as they unlocked their rainbow power.
Which I feel is a little selective. I mean, there's only so much time in the episode, and apart from the small flashbacks that I feel were somewhat needed for those who didn't watch previous episodes, there wasn't really any wasted time that could have been cut and replaced with some Tyrek destruction. Not to mention he just destroyed Twilight's home to raise the stakes and bring out the true DVC power within her, and gave us that awesome fight scene in the first place.
It's always possible that there are some Tyrek destruction scenes that were cut in post-production, and we're willing to bet that's the case. Now, Tyrek repeating the formula of losing at the very end isn't necessarily bad, since I'm pretty sure every viewer that turns into the finale doesn't think the villain is going to win at the very end. This isn't Game of Thrones after all.
And I don't want it to be. Sure, as a writer, there is a lack of surprise once you sit down, watch a finale, and immediately know that the main 6 are gonna win, but that's like saying House is boring because he almost always cures the patient. Evil endings suck sometimes, would be difficult for DHX to pull off, would tank ratings, and everyone knows that Hasbro wouldn't let one pass the radar. If the comics can't do it, neither can the show. Simple as that. Not to mention we have fanfics for bad endings, bad writing, and basically bad everything.
Speaking of bad everything, let's talk about the songs. I'm kidding though, I actually really liked You'll Play Your Part, and the instrumentals from Let the Rainbow Remind You were super catchy and fun. That aside, I've heard a lot of people say that one or both of these songs are bad, mainly You'll Play Your Part. Maybe I just like the overall scenes that these songs are a part of, and that's where I really get the enjoyment from.
Yeah, I've seen criticisms towards both songs, but mostly the first for just being a subpar of what my cutie mark is telling me. But I mean, really, what do you want me to say about music? I thought the first song was fine, even if a little lyrically awkward, and Luna's singing voice sounds almost exactly like Rarity's, so there is a lack of distinction. And I thought the second song was excellent, but there are people who enjoy different songs. I will say that the last song made me tear up once I saw the picture on the final scene, so yeah, emotions. Blah.
Can we talk about the Rainbow Power designs for a moment? I mean, look at this. Look at these designs. They're just... I kinda like them, actually. They're silly and ridiculous, but I'm more focused on the pure power part of it. I mean, this is like their final form. This is the ultimate form of friendship, and we're looking right at it. Unless something more intense comes along in the next season, this is the most powerful we'll ever see the main six. Gaudy designs and silly hair aside, it's actually pretty awesome to see them in such a state.
Personally, I don't have anything wrong with the designs, considering this is a good compromise for the show to continue into Season 5. I mean, sure, I don't like the way their manes look, but I get my hair cut from Fantastic Sam, so what do I know about the specifics behind hair? There's a lot of things I don't like. Scott Sonborn's episodes, the fact that Noel Benvenuti only gave us one amazing episode, Styrofoam. The last thing I want to get mad over is an awesome new power that was on the screen for, 7 seconds? And the power even disappeared, so it's not like they have to walk around with that 80s hair.
Now let's talk about Twilight's ascension as the Princess of Friendship. Some people like it, and some people don't. Personally, I'm in the group of people who like it, and that's almost solely because from day one, I've really been looking forward to Twilight's progression from student to successor. It's like she's leveling up, or getting another tier of armor, and becoming the Princess of Friendship is another step on that path. We just have to hope that Season 5 explores her newfound status in a good way.
I mean, see, here's the thing. In a perfect world, this finale would open up a whole new character arc for Twilight in the same way that Magical Mystery Cure did, and it would be explored well. I felt that Season 4 stumbled a bit and took too long when it came to establishing Twilight's royalty, and I partially blame the lack of M.A. Larson since he is, after all, best writer. But eventually they did get the ball rolling, and seriously, I'm sure all of us have a huge wish list of Griffin episodes, CMC spin-off shows, and the like, but taking Season 4 into account, these huge changes that the 2 previous finales, and I guess 3 previous finales have taken Cadence into account, are enacting, aren't really resolved until the very end. We didn't really get that much detail on Twilight's princesshood after her coronation. We got the Rainbow Power box and key episodes with some flat out ignoring her wings until 24 episodes later.
But the only real inherent problem with what Vicodin said considers the group of writers. You could try and give them leeway with the timeline, since it would be a stretch for a recently crowned princess to instantly get respect, kind of like Twilight's inability to get a cab in Rarity Takes Manhattan. But again, Twilight and her friends have saved Equestria many times, and maybe that douchebag stallion just missed the memo. Now, there is some writer negligence, that's obvious. But there's also lack thereof like with Maud Pie, where every character is written perfectly by a newbie. At the end of the day, that appears to be how this show is structured, and it comes down to personal taste over whether or not you prefer things like a group writer staff, or Twilight's princesshood or the box to be on the back burner.
I don't mind it. I think of it in the same way as the omission of the friendship letters. It frees up the writers, and the more free they are, the better they are to write an episode, at least usually. Polsky's still gonna write stuff that will make us go, huh? No matter what subject he's given. And Amy Keating-Rogers will continue to show us how you were supposed to write Pinky. She's not an airheaded joke, she's best freaking pony.
That's a funny way to say Twilight, but I digress. Overall, the finale was pretty awesome. While you may not agree that I had the best songs, or that Celestia made the right choices, you have to admit that seeing Twilight go ham on T-Rex was awesome, and that the structure of the library was surprisingly mature for My Little Pony. If Season 5 is anything like these 2 finale episodes, I think the show is headed in a pretty good direction.
And I believe that's it for this episode. Thank you for sticking with us and watching our extremely late review. Make sure to hit us up with any questions or comments on anything we missed for a possible Q&A, while I beat Alex until he uninstalls WildStar and becomes productive.
Don't forget to subscribe and check out our Patreon if you want to support us with some extra benefits. We're aiming to finish another collaboration that we did with fanfiction reader Scribbler, but until then, we'll see you next time.
Peace!